Every time you turn around, it seems like they're trying to feed you a story about who's making money and who isn't, and who's doing great and who isn't. As you all know, I'm the data and numbers guy here, so I take you to the information behind the headlines because most of the misinformation and disinformation that comes out today comes from the corporate media. So what we do is we just go ahead and get behind it. And that's what we're going to do here tonight as we're coming up on the end of 2025. And hopefully it'll give you all some idea how to get yourselves a head start on 2026. So just remember that. All right, here's an article that's come out. 30% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency. 30% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency. $400, that's damn near a trip to the grocery store today. In this hyperinflation environment, virtual hyperinflation environment that we're in right now. So, and you don't even want to know what the numbers look like for $1,000 emergency here. But let's go ahead and take a look inside the article here for that. So it says nearly 30% of U.S. adults say they can't afford an unexpected expense of $400 according to a recent Empower survey. We're close to half saying they have less in emergency savings than they did a year ago. Let me say it again. Close to half say that they have less in emergency savings than they did a year ago. It is particularly hard for those nearing or in retirement who may be living on fixed incomes or watching their savings stretch thinner with each passing year. So, to all the old baby boomers and the folks who figured that they were going to do real good, they're going to do real good for themselves, and they were going to toss the children and grandchildren under the bus, and it was all going to be Tom Joyner cruises and Carnival Cruise Lines. That clearly is not the case. It's going to take everybody, including the no good, worthless boomers who created this mess to begin with. So it goes on into the article to talk about how to make an emergency fund. And I'm like, don't even bother. And as far as them giving advice, don't even bother. You're not really qualified to do that. But let's take a peek behind the numbers. I think it's really, really important to take a peek behind the numbers here. Let's go to Reuters. This is what Reuters shows you here, because I want to get down into, by the way, what's the male-female breakdown. It says women need larger cash cushions than men due to a bunch of factors. Yes, overspending, going into indebtedness, impulsive spending, pretending to be boss babes. We can go down the list. That's what creates their income gap or savings gap. Fidelity's Roca says about 21% of women reported having no cash in savings. What? About 21% of women reported having no cash in savings. I think this is very grossly underreported. I think a lot of females are lying. Just going to be honest. I think a lot of females are lying on this question. And that's compared with roughly 11% of men. That's according to Fidelity Research. 21% of women at least have no cash in savings, compared with roughly 11% of men. When people go and talk to you about these numbers and these stats and things, do they ever do this? Do they ever say, you know what, by the way, let's splice those numbers and check to see, by the way, how does this break down? Because there's a whole bunch of people out there false flagging and fronting about what they got, and we know that can't be the case. Let's go ahead and get into another factor here, home ownership. This is one of the biggest red herrings and canards that's been handed out here, including by people who should know better, Professor Scott Galloway being among them. No disrespect, but you got to go behind the numbers. Otherwise, you just come to a bunch of faulty, phony conclusions. And then when you start basing your decisions or your announcements to the public or your opinions on faulty conclusions that you drew, that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anybody. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I want to go into a story from the nationalmortgageprofessional.com. I want to go into a story from them. We're going to go ahead and throw this up on your screens here so you can see it. About single females and more women buying homes on their own. Now I want to go into this a little bit better here. Single women nearly doubled their share of home purchasing, NAR finds, National Association of Realtors. So you're dealing with people in the industry. This is what they check. This is what they deal with. And it says here, the National Association of Realtors poured through its research dating back to 1981 and found that among all home buyers then, 73% were married couples. This is back then. 73% were married couples, 11% were single women, and 10% were single men. Now, according to the organization's latest data in its report, 2024 profile of home buyers and sellers, 62% of all home buyers are married couples, 20% are single women, and just 8% are single men. Now, there is actually a rather devastating piece of information that is contained in that paragraph. Amazingly, even amongst, I think, well-meaning people like Professor Galloway, but certainly the national corporate media, who is not well-meaning at all, they are the villains and the evil people of this story. But there is a devastating piece of data that is contained in that paragraph I just read you. I'm going to leave it on the screen for a moment so you can read over it again, but there is actually a rather devastating piece of information and data that is contained in there. It's devastating because it doesn't just reflect on what you saw then, it reflects on what they claim is going on now. So keep that in mind. Among first-time home buyers, specifically, single women stand out even more, comprising 24%, nearly 1 out of 4 of those purchasing homes today. So it's a wise mortgage originator indeed who chooses to target this demographic, a wise one or a predatory one. Is he wise or is he predatory? You know, this home debt reminds me of student loan debt. And how much good has that done the female population while all these people are out here cheerleading and bragging about how great it is the women are so eager to get into student loan debt. And the student loan debt and the home mortgage debt, to me right now, look to be synonymous. Then they have some female sitting up here cheerleading about that. But once again, there's a devastating thing in here. It says here that today single women are surpassing all odds to go into debt by purchasing homes while having lower household incomes in an increasingly unaffordable housing market. You think that's something to brag about? In addition, what's striking about single women home buyers is that it was not until 1974 that women were legally allowed to obtain a mortgage without a cosigner, and yet you've already admitted that they had homes of their own. So very clearly that it wasn't this big apartheid system. Very clearly that was not the case, because a bunch of us know women, even women in your families, who were purchasing their own homes well before 1974. So very clearly this has become an old wives' tale that the modern media has simply ginned up that is not actually reconciling with the reality. But they use it because they need a lie to tell. Now, here's where things get bad. It says part of the reason behind the rise over the past several decades in single women home buyers is that fewer people today are getting married. You mean fewer women are, she pointed out. And there's this as well. Single women have children living with them more often than men do. Okay, single motherhood. Single women are more likely to have children under the age of 18 in the home and are slightly more likely to purchase a multi-generational home. This is a lie, according to Louts. Women may value the stability of home ownership in both scenarios. So this is what they're telling you there. I want to go down here a little bit more because it gets into their reasons not good. Succeeding despite adversity. So here you go with more you go girlism. The corporate media is demonic. Whatever the reasons and rationales behind their home purchases, wait. Whatever the reasons, wait a minute, if their reasons are bad, if their reasons are faulty, if their reasons are destructive, do you still just say, oh, well, whatever the reason? You don't just say whatever the reason, because you are getting into a situation that has severe financial consequences. So to just act like it doesn't matter why they do it, just so long as they do it, who the hell does she work for? Lennar Homes? Whatever the reasons and rationales behind their home purchases, NAR's research shows women face a steeper climb to home ownership, thanks in part to the old glass ceiling nonsense.
Lie.
Among single individuals, the typical first-time male homebuyer today, listen to this, among single individuals, the typical first-time male homebuyer, single male, earns $87,500, while the typical first-time female home buyer has income of $71,300. For repeat home buyers, the differential is even more pronounced. For men, they make $91,000. For women, $75,000. Given that information and other factors, including that the median age of single first-time home buyers is 34 years old for men and 40 years old for women. By the way, didn't they just tell you that the median age for home buyers today, or average age, is 40 years old? Okay. It's clear women, quote, are ambitious about achieving home ownership and willing to make sacrifices to do so. The question is, should they be doing so? I'm going to come back to that in a few moments. We know for all first-time home buyers, it's incredibly difficult now to enter into home ownership. There are high home prices and a lack of inventory. But then also think about increased rental costs and student loan debt, child care costs. You go, girl. All of these factors can hold back purchasing. So to see women purchasing with a household income that's essentially $16,000 less than what we see for single men is extraordinary. I mean, these people are psychotic or just evil liars or both. So when you take a look at that, that's not so great. That's not so great. Now, let me go back to what I was telling you about here before, that there's actually a devastating fact in here. This is actually devastating. I've said it a bunch of times, and now I'm going to explain to you why it is. They're telling you that their research going back all the way to 1981 found that 11% of home buyers were single women. That number has been steadily increasing to what you have today. 20% are single women. Okay, folks, over 4 decades of research. Then what this should show you is that after 4 decades, women should be incredibly wealthy in America. If buying a home increases your personal wealth, then shouldn't we also see a proportional increase in the wealth of females today?
What? Damn!
If purchasing a home is such a great and wonderful thing, you know, just like going to go get a degree, a master's degree, a PhD, if these are great, wonderful things that automatically translate to quote unquote wealth, especially for single women, then after 4 or 5 damn decades, shouldn't single women be knocking it out of the park? Shouldn't they have a lot more wealth than they currently do? As a matter of fact, shouldn't their wealth be rivaling married couples? I mean, because that's the assumption that you would have to make if you're going to claim that women, it doesn't matter why women are buying homes, just so long as they buy them. Well, after over 4 decades of single females purchasing homes, shouldn't we see over 4 decades of wealth accumulation amongst single females? And yet we don't. Yet we don't. It doesn't matter where they are. It doesn't matter what they bought. It doesn't matter the neighborhood. The upscale part of town is not the part of town where the houses were bought by the single women. The destitute part of town, the rundown part of town, the low value part of town, the low equity part of town, that's where all the single women home buyers, that's where all of their homes are. The high value homes, the high appreciation, the sustained home values, that's not where the single women are. The women who bought the single females who've been purchasing homes over the last 4 or 5 decades, you don't see any wealth accumulation at all. Those of you who know these women, you have them in your families. Some of you been married to them, or at least you dated them. They ain't balling out. None of them bought a house and then woke up when we hear about people, oh, my house is worth 2 or 3 times what it was 4 or 5 decades ago. Okay, it's not these women. It's not them. The single female home buyers, it's not them. After 4 decades, there's been zero change. Nobody puts this into context or perspective when they have these bullcrap articles talking about what females are doing. And I'm not beating up on the women here. What I'm saying is that you cannot have actual increase or progress if you will not be honest about what is required. These are lies and fairy tales and myths. After 4 decades, women should be knocking it out of the park, but they're not. So what this tells you is that they are encouraging you and luring you off into things that work out for the realtors, things that work out for the bank, things that work out for the federal government. It just doesn't work out for the single women. Go back to the financial crisis of 2008. That was a mortgage crisis caused primarily by female and particularly black female home buyers. Okay, show me all these people today, 20 years later, who've got all this great real estate in Atlanta and in DC and Chicago that they're sitting on, and everything's all peachy. After 2 decades, you should be able to show me whether all the women who bought homes going into 2008, that things are going great. How about in the last decade? You can't show any. That's the point I'm making, and nobody stops their bullcrap articles to put that into perspective. That these women are not purchasing wealth. Nobody is explaining that to you. They're not purchasing any wealth. If they were, you'd all be swimming in females like that today. You know a bunch of single moms who went off and took out a terrible mortgage and bought a home. You don't know any of them who have any appreciable equity in it. They don't have it now, and they're not on their way to it. The homes that appreciate in value is everybody else's home except theirs. They're not making wise financial decisions. They don't know how to play the game of home ownership, which is property ownership. They don't know how to play that game. They go with whoever makes them the best deal. The problem is that's usually going to be cheap housing in a cheap neighborhood on the bad side of town. And if it's not the bad side of town now, it will be, because all of y'all got cheap property where it's impossible for that property to appreciate in value. You didn't buy a very expensive home to begin with. Therefore, you've got a cheap house in a cheap neighborhood with lower income people. It'll be impossible for you all to make this property appreciate in value. And you'll either end up losing it, or it'll never gain appreciation in value. Therefore, it never gains any wealth. So there goes equity. And thus, your kids aren't going to be able to inherit anything. They can't inherit anything. There's nothing to get from you. There's no wealth to pass down. There's a house to pass down, but no wealth. Grandmama or mama might have a house to pass down, yeah, but it won't be any wealth. So congratulations, you bought a house, you just don't have an asset. And your children will wind up having to start all over again because what you have isn't worth very much. Once again, neither Oprah nor, unfortunately, Professor Galloway or these other folk, nobody puts this in perspective. So you see, it just goes to show again, if a female wishes to exit poverty, she's really going to have to find a man who is willing to subsidize her. Without a man to subsidize her, this basically becomes a financial black hole, and she just spins her wheels for the rest of her life until she gets too old or too crippled to work, with nobody explaining that that's where you're actually going to be. So that's one thing I wanted to go into here. The next thing I want to go into is I want to go back about the annual savings report here. Bankrate has done their numbers. And I also want to get into that too. So let's go ahead and jump into that right quick. Over on Bankrate, they've got their numbers about this. 8 in 10 Americans haven't increased their emergency savings since the start of this year. According to the survey, 32% of U.S. adults have less emergency savings now than they did at the beginning of the year. 31% have the same amount, and 19%, interesting, 19% reported increasing their emergency savings this year. The remaining 18% had no savings at the start of the year and still don't have any now.
Damn!
So 32% have less emergency savings than they did at the beginning of the year. 18% didn't have any at the beginning of the year and don't have any now. So when you put those numbers together, you got 50%. 50% who either didn't change or they got less than they did at the beginning of the year. Maybe we can get a breakdown of that by sex. Maybe we can. Now, watch this. Those who grew their savings this year reported increased income. Okay, that's interesting. More than half of all households increased their spending over the past year on basic necessities. Okay, that's a little ominous. There. According to the survey, 32% of U.S. adults have less savings now. 31% have the same amount. You get the idea. 19% reported increase in their emergency savings this year. 18%, no change at all. Now you see where those fluctuations there happen. Okay. Now let's go a little bit deeper here. Once again, why is it these other people don't talk about these things? When asked about changes to their emergency savings this year, 21% of men and 16% of women said it increased. Oh, so even in the feminist, misandrist, feminist fascist era, more men are increasing their savings than women as a percentage. As a percentage, that's pretty potent. Over 1 in 5 men. So that's pretty potent. Similarly, 28% of Gen Z adults said it increased, compared with 19% of millennials, 14% of Gen Xers, 15% for baby boomers. Those with at least a 4-year college degree were twice as likely as people who never went to college to grow their emergency savings. As we all know, there's a devil in the details there. Meanwhile, 21% of non-parents, 21% of non-parents, people with no childless people, were able to increase their savings compared with 16% of parents.
Damn!
Oh, I thought that The married folk with kids and stuff were doing so much better than the single childless people. Folks, the media lies. They lie on a regular basis. They want you to get yourself into debt. They want you to get kids so that pressures you to keep your job and keep their economy stable. They're all in on it. Hell, Larry Ellison owns CBS now, so that's just going to be total propaganda that you need to go to work, keep your job. You better not have any issues go on there till they get ready to fire you or lay you off. Work your ass off, get a house so that you're living in mortal fear of losing everything. Did they tell you these things? Among those who earn at least $100,000 per year, 27% were able to grow their emergency savings this year, compared with 11% of those who earn less than $50,000. Lower wage earners, in fact, were most likely to be living with no emergency savings at all. So you get the idea here. Increased earnings, not lower spending, is the main driver for boosting emergency funds. So people have to work more, is what that's telling you. People have to work more. Why is it nobody went into these numbers for you all? They were telling you how great that was. What this is telling you is that, by the way, and the women are strapping themselves to houses, they're strapping themselves to cars, they're strapping themselves to student loan debt. So, yeah, you might be able to buy stuff. They're out buying stuff, but it's not leading to assets or wealth. The men are not buying stuff. The men are being more strategic. The men are waiting until they make more money, have more savings, and can make their decisions from a position of strength. So, isn't it amazing that none of these articles ever go into explaining these things? Now, just in case you thought that these were minor obstacles that would eventually resolve themselves, and just in case you were thinking that was the case, more bad news for you here, because this is an article that just came out from the New York Times.
Damn!
With rights and resources uncertain, they're seeking sterilization. More young, child-free women are pursuing the permanent form of contraception. Now, first of all, you can see that this young woman here is all tatted up and everything. I mean, she's got not one but two tattoo sleeves. So, yeah, if she's exiting the gene pool, probably working out better. However, have you bothered to ask yourself, do you realize the lengths that females are having to go to just to hang on? Do you realize the lengths they're having to go to hang on here? You think that's accidental? You think that's not an impulse purchase? Do you think that that's not basically surrendering to cat ladyism? You think that's not it? What are you going to offer a man if during your most fertile years you're yanking out your tubes? What exactly is it you're offering? You're not offering anything, and of course it will go hand in hand either with lifelong debt, or it is going to just lead to a situation where you're going to be working for the rest of your days as hard as you can. So now you're trying to be the men of your office, with offices that need fewer females, with no one explaining, by the way, that's what you're walking into. This also looks like psychoses in that way. And it's not to say that every female is doing that, but what they are letting you know is that they're giving up. Okay, they can get a house so they can have some kids. And then, of course, later they're going to come back and be trying to get these things undone. That's the crazy part about it. But here's the other issue. Why are they seeking sterilization? So they can get out here in these streets and get slutted on. They are not doing what's necessary to be a wife. They're not doing what's necessary to be a competent partner. No, they're concerned about having the ability to slut in these streets. And they'll rack up the STDs, but at least they don't have any children. And let's be clear, they think that not having children is going to, I guess, put their value in suspended animation for a man. And that when she gets done getting slutted out here on these blocks, then she'll go get the doctor to reverse it, as if that could be done. And then, okay, then we'll do something then. Or, well, as long as I don't have any children, I'm preserving my childless value. This is why you need to have some men to talk to so you don't come to stupid conclusions. Just because a woman doesn't have any children does not mean that she has preserved her value. Fellas, if I'm telling the truth here tonight, give me the baby emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. It's over 1,300 people in here live right now tonight. We got 500 likes on here, but if I'm telling the truth, fellas, give me the baby emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. A lot of females out here have come to a very simplistic conclusions, assuming that as long as she doesn't have children, then she's at her peak sexual value and the men will continue competing. And that's not the way that works. It really, really isn't. But I want you all to understand that that's the result of thinking, well, if I just buy a house and a car, that makes me swaggy and that's where my value comes from. And that's not where the value comes from. In the process, however, you have to live. So you're racking up a house, you're racking up a car, you're trying to go on vacations and signal to people that you're living your best life. And in reality, all you're doing is liquidating what money you had. So you see, they have to continue going to school and chasing degrees because now they have to continue compensating for all the wealth that they've squandered. No one explains this to you either when they write their ridiculous articles. At least in the case of the men, it's usually the men doing it after they've had children, but now you've got the females doing that, and all that really just says is don't choose me. And let me be clear, it's hardly an epidemic worth. However, the media wants to promote this kind of thing. On the one hand, it's actually a good idea, I think, if it keeps the undesirables out of the gene pool. I mean, take a look at this specimen on your screen here. Do we really want her spawning? Taking that into account, is that really what we want? I mean, what exactly did the gene pool miss now that she has exited it? Matter of fact, I think it's a little cleaner now. But for the men, just understand what this really means. There's no way you do the math on this. If a female is getting sterilized, she plans on shifting the burden to you. If a female gets sterilized, what she's saying is, I'm not going to reduce my spending. I'm not going to reduce my FOMO. I'm not going to reduce my YOLO. And I'm going to shift. I'm not going to have any savings, and I'm going to shift that to you. That's what it ends up being, with nobody telling you that. See, what's happening today is that men are pulling back on their spending because men are doing what men do, going into survival mode, preparing for the future. That's what you do as a man, is you prepare for the future. But they're telling the women, don't worry about the future. What about right now? And so now there's just a bunch of out of control spending with this eternal chase of increasing your income to compensate for it. And so it becomes a dog chasing its own tail. In case you didn't notice, the more money you make, the more expensive the houses get. It's not like you're making more money to pay for the same value a house. The more buyers that they have in the market, the more the houses prices go up. Doesn't matter where you are. It'll be the same market dynamic anywhere. So it just becomes a dog chasing its own tail. Did they explain that to you? No? All right. Okay. I do this here because I want to make it clear to you all that they lie to you. They lie to you. It's not accidental. It's very much deliberate. And they lie to you because they want you to believe that that's real. They want you to believe that you're doing fine. They want you to believe that you're killing it. And what I'm saying is you look around everywhere you're going there, that it's not working. It's not working. They are convincing the females to enter into the workforce. They're not making as much as the men do. They're saddling themselves under huge amounts of debt. They rationalize it to themselves to say, well, I'm getting the value of it now. They get the car now, and carry the car note. They get the house now, and carry the mortgage. Next up, 50-year mortgages. And as a result, you stay stuck with it. They tell the females, well, don't worry, you can refinance. There's a lie. You have yet to find a female who said she was going to refinance a house and everything turned out great. You have yet to find her. Because that's not the way that works. That's what the salesmen tell her. Oh, don't worry, you got a bad deal today, but stick around for 5 or 6 years. Interest rates will change and it'll become a good deal later. No, it won't. No, it won't, because it can't. However, you might disagree. I want to find out from you all what you think. So I'm going to go ahead and toss the link to the Zoom up here in the chat room for you. Heard a whole bunch of talk here and a whole bunch of people trying to tell you about who's broke and who isn't. Now you have an opportunity to see it for yourself. So what do you think? Do you think that's smart? Do you think that's wise? What do you think is going to be the consequences in 20 years? You think it's going to work out great and be wonderful and they're going to be smiling about it? Or do you think there's just going to be a bunch of old chicks with a bunch of debt? And I say a bunch of old chicks, but the truth of the matter is there'll be a bunch of simp males out there to a certain degree. There's going to be a lot of simp dudes sitting under a lot of debt too. There are going to be a bunch of simp dudes. Like I say, there'll be one. There's not as many as there used to be, and the numbers keep going down. But there will be ferocious competition for the last remaining dummies out there who are willing to pay for a bailout. And here's the crazy thing. They won't even get any kids out of it or anything. Or she's going to go back and go get those tubes untied so she can go do that again. Here's the issue here. If a female is with you and she's walking to the door saying she's never going to have kids, what is she telling you? She's telling you that she's handing you the bill that she has accrued and acquired from all the males she was with before you. She's bringing you the bill. You don't get any of the peak femininity. You don't get any of the status or nothing. You just get the bill. Everything that she didn't do, everything she didn't accomplish, all the stuff that got wasted, she's coming to you and it's like, okay, you get the unbridled joy of subsidizing me. You call that a bargain? So is that a good deal? That's a good deal. Really? Right now, they're looking for fellas who are just so dog-ass desperate that they're willing to just take whatever they can get. And now, I'm just saying, if they're getting sterilizations in their 30s, it's like, dude, are you serious? How much are you supposed to pay for that? How much is a man? How much is a man supposed to put himself on the hook for in that situation? Right now, if it costs you a couple of $1 million to quote unquote provide the American dream for your family, exactly how much are you supposed to pay for that? If she's not in her prime. She can't have any children with you. Okay, how much are you supposed to leverage? And has anybody asked that? The issue that we have today here is that, and everybody knows about this, the issue that we have today here is that we're telling men that you have no choice but to be responsible. There's the real issue that we're running into. And I want you to keep your eyes and your ears open for that, because there will be consequences for not doing it. There will be consequences for not doing it. See, the thing is that we've gotten into a trap where we don't require women to do things that they don't want to do. We're not telling women that they're required to do things they don't want to do. Now, we tell the men that you're required to do things you don't want to do. But we don't tell the women that you're required to do things you don't want to do. If she wants a car, she's told, well, you go ahead and do that. It doesn't matter if it's financially ruinous. If you want it, you go ahead and do that. We tell the men, however, you have to be responsible. You can't just do this because you have folk to take care of. And the issue is that these people who lied to you did not ever tell you the truth that, by the way, all this work and labor wears the women down. It wears the women down. It grounds them into the concrete. It destroys their psyche. It cracks them. It turns them into male-type beings. Professor Galloway can talk about how the men, when men are single and stuff like that, they don't get spruced up, and they don't dress as well. Okay, but by the way, what about the females? What you're not taking into account is the males are unmotivated. What they're not taking into account, because it's very inconvenient to do so, is that the males are not motivated. Professor Galloway, all due respect, is speaking about an era of females that no longer exist. Maybe he's got a few young gals sniping at him on the campus, but once again, they're doing that because of what socioeconomic status he is occupying. This is not boy meets girl, average guy, like it was when he was coming up. It's not like that. You didn't have 21-year-old and 22-year-old females flying out to Dubai when he was in college. Today, the average male in college, his female counterparts in college, he's competing not just against the older dude down the street with a convertible, but dudes overseas willing to fly her out. This is the part that we're not having an accurate assessment of. And as a result, if the females attempt to compensate for this on their own, they dig the hole for themselves. Right now, most of you don't know a female who could handle a financial emergency if she had one. A real one. If she had to have an extra $1,000 expense, it's not there for most of them. It's not there. So then they start talking about marriage, but in reality, when they say marriage, what they're talking about are unearned benefits. Fellas, if she does not want to get married to you just for you, and that the only thing she gets is you, then she doesn't want to be married to you. When you say marriage, you're thinking companionship. When she says marriage, she's thinking social custom bailout. That in our society is a social custom that when you get married, the man's supposed to bail you out. And that's where the raw deal enters the equation. Everyone and their mama wants to talk about the supposed female single rate in your large cities and whatnot. They're not asking, by the way, is this wife material? They never ask that, because you see, that's an unpleasant reality to confront, is that, by the way, they're not single because they're not wife. They're not single because they're wife material. They're single because they're not. Men are having to ask themselves, is this female worth me ruining my life over? Because that's literally what you're risking. As a man, you're literally risking ruining your life. Because as men, particularly as black men, it is very difficult to get back years that you wasted. A female will go see if she can go find another dude to lay up with to subsidize that shortfall. But as a man, there isn't anybody willing to subsidize yours. If you don't get it, you do without. If you waste years, if you squander it, or if you make a bad bet. If a man makes a bad bet, he just loses it. If a man makes a bad bet, he just loses it. So that's the calculus that a man has to do. He has to do the calculus that, by the way, if this comes up badly, if this goes bad, I'm not only going to be out whatever I came here with, I'm going to be starting over from a deficit. Now, that's a hell of a cost to enter into. So, yeah, men have to choose carefully. And what I'm telling you is that when you walk around Atlanta, Chicago, DC, Miami, Dallas, do you see the streets teeming with females who are worth you risking everything for? Nobody is talking about that because it's very inconvenient to say so. However, they do want to get the men back out there working. They want to get the men back out there working. They want for you to go ahead and strap yourself to as many bills as possible. And here's the thing, men lie to themselves. Most males today are in an exploitative marriage, an exploitative relationship. And he's like, as long as she doesn't say anything to break the illusion, he'll sit there happy. Problem, over 50% of men can't get that to last for the rest of their lives. Over 50% of men who get married, eventually she's going to show you, yeah, nah. And that's a very important, crucial step because you see, if you are the man that that woman's always been waiting for, then that's worth it to you to say you'll risk everything. Well, yeah, because she's letting you know that you're her everything. But if you are not the fella that she's been waiting for her whole life, just understand, I'll be damned. There's no way that she's giving all of herself to you and you're not that fella. The other issue here is that females see debt differently than men because females are used to men paying their way, which means they think that they have a get out of jail free card if they want to. The reason for cultivating a world full of simps is that females keep simps in their back pocket. Most men don't have the ability to put a female in his back pocket. Most men don't have a rotation of females. That's really only reserved for the top 20%. The bottom 80% of men, they don't really have the ability to rotate. They don't really have the ability to have females on standby. Women know that there are enough simps to do that. Women know that there are enough simps. There are not as many as they wish there were, but there are enough simps out there that she can get at least one of them that she can stuff in her back pocket to break glass in case of emergency. Now, that's a dynamic that the majority of males don't even have the option of. Let me explain what I mean by that. See, fellas, it's different. It's different. You having a back pocket chick is not the same as a woman having a back pocket dude. When women say they got a back pocket dude, they're talking about a fella who'll break with resources.
What? Nigga, what?
See, you got a back pocket chick, but other than have sex, what is she offering? You see the difference? For the majority of males, you might have a chick you can quote unquote fool with on the side, but she's not offering anything. When a female says she got a back pocket dude, what she means is resources. He's not her desired option, but at least he will be physically resourceful emotionally resourceful, financially resourceful. Maybe he doesn't pay the rent, but he'll break with some dollars. So when females talk about having a back pocket dude, they don't mean the same thing you mean with a back pocket chick. That is not the same thing. That's not the same thing. What she means is there's a dude who's thirsty enough or whatever, he'll do things for her. So when you realize that, yeah, you have to use a more serious form of calculus before you just go out there and say, okay, let me put it all on the line. Because you're going to have a lot more to lose. The other issue here is there was another article I was looking at also. The houses that men buy are substantially more expensive than the houses that women buy. Women basically go around buying starter homes. Men are the ones that buy impressive homes. Well, once again, a whole lot comes with that. The average female is simply not going to do that. Also, remember, it becomes a rabbit hole that gets deeper. If the house is more expensive, she automatically feels the car that she drives must be more expensive. She automatically feels that her purses must be more expensive. Men don't have that issue. Men don't have the issue of, oh, I want a handbag and some expensive shoes and whatever, because we're minimalist by nature. Women suffer lifestyle and ego inflation. So buying a bigger house actually opens up even more expenses that she hadn't even considered doing before she went off and did that. Because you see, even though what she's got is really a starter home, she has paid, she has stretched herself to the absolute limit to do so. So now she's trying to make the starter home into her dream house. And a dream house is going to depend on the neighborhood. Folks, a neighborhood can change in 5 years. I've lived long enough to be able to tell you that a neighborhood can change in 5 years. You got a 30-year mortgage, but all you need on a block, if you got 10 houses, all you need on a block is 3 of your neighbors to leave. Hell, have 2 of them leave. All you need for the neighborhood to go to hell is to have 2 or 3 of your neighbors leave. That's all you need. Let 2 or 3 of your neighbors leave. They sell the houses to somebody else who gets a crazy mortgage. Next thing you know, there goes the block. Even if you got an HOA. So with that being the case, fortunes can change very quickly. Is she prepared for that eventuality if that occurs? Once again, if it doesn't turn out very well, she'll be looking for a bailout. The men are prepared for that. Do you notice that what Professor Galloway and other folks are not acknowledging or recognizing is that men today see that the financial landscape is becoming more treacherous, so the men are stripping all of the unnecessary baggage. College debt, men are dumping all the non-essentials. College debt, gone. Extra expenses, gone. Keep that car, keep that cell phone. Okay, marriage is expensive, gone. The men are stripping down their expenditures. The men are reducing their expenses. The females are increasing them. And got folk out here cheerleading for it. Well, yeah, understand that's the society that you're in. They didn't tell men that you should get your marriage ring should be worth a year's income because they were doing us a favor. They said that because they wanted to encourage us to be these work mules, these pack mules that would keep their economy going. They didn't give a damn how much it put us behind the 8 ball. They didn't start changing the laws in the court system because they needed to. They changed them because they wanted to make a situation where men were more confined and men were more pressed into servitude, where you'd have to keep doing this whether or not you wanted to or not. As far as the government's concerned, come up both ways. You get married, you have the kids, they go ahead and clean you out. Now you got to work twice as hard to keep it going, with no one explaining to you that's what you're doing. The real goal has been to put men on a treadmill and have the men smiling while they do it. So men are cutting expenses. Men are cutting back. They're holding off on having families. And as a result, the economy is suffering because men are not just walking off into large ticket items. Did the society stop their nonsense? No, they started telling the women, you're not a real woman unless you start picking up this debt. They didn't catch a clue from the fact that the men saw something and started stepping backwards. They saw the men walking backwards and they all said, oh, them men are just chicken and scared. You ain't no real man. And they talked the females off into gathering it themselves. That's what they did. What's the payoff? Right now, they're talking the women into taking on the burdens that the men have started to step back from. I mean, I just showed you the graph for it. I just showed you the stats. The men are buying less and the women are buying more. What that means is that they're shifting the burden from the men to the women. They are literally shifting the burden from the men to the women. That's all this happened. And not just the men. We're talking about the married men. Folks, all they're doing is shifting the burden from the men to the women. Okay, but that cost men to do that. It cost men to take on a 30-year mortgage. Now you're shifting it to the females. Now they're paying in part what the men used to be paying for. You think that's not going to have ramifications and consequences for the rest of your life? You think that's not going to be the case? Of course it is. It has to. It has to. And that's exactly what you're seeing today. You start off with the student loan debt. They never get that paid off. They go into the workforce and then they say, okay, let's go ahead and do this all on our own. You can't reach as high as you were before, but what it does guarantee is that you will be in perpetual debt. Think about the situation right now. Even if you were a female who thought you were really slick 4 years ago and got a mortgage with a 2% interest rate, well, with the interest rates being currently what they are, you can't walk away from the house now. You basically have to stay in the house and keep staying in the house until something else changes, because you selling the house right now is not an option. And that's if you're a female in a good position. If you're a female in a not so good position, selling the house still isn't an option. Now what? Selling the house still isn't a great option. No wonder they're congratulating you for picking up the men's burden. I'm going to say this is a lesson to the young men listening to me, either live or recorded. Do not let these people talk you into nonsense. So much of society today has been cultivated and constructed around trying to entice you to take on as much debt as you can. The entire financial system today is based on consumer debt. And not even consumer debt from buying assets. Consumer debt from buying consumer goods. The cars are in such terrible shape and engineering today. Recalls all over the place. Everything's become a consumer good. Yeah, but they need for you to go ahead and pay that. They want you to own the car for 3 or 5 years and then get another car. Something that your parents and grandparents did not have to do. Everything is about keeping you as a perpetual consumer. Everything is about how do we corral you into being a perpetual consumer. Has nothing to do with what's in your best interest. How do we wrap you up in this debt crisis? Where you have you have things that you pay for, you're not able to keep them, and then it just turns over. So you're just in perpetual debt while you're telling yourself that they're status symbols. You're telling yourself it's a status symbol. In reality, it's just perpetual debt. Did they explain that to you? To the women listening here, ladies, you better get a second and third opinion. This situation is not really calibrated towards you sitting out here humping it on your own, just to be totally honest. But we got to have an honest conversation with you here. It is not that you're not able to find these things. Can you just admit that, by the way, you've been kind of hard-headed and difficult and disagreeable? Would you marry you if you were a man?
What? Damn!
Ladies, just be totally honest with yourselves. Would you, of all the women available, would you marry you if you were a man? If you were a man with all the options that he had in front of him, would he walk past all those other options to deal with you? Would you be his preferred option? Most women already know the answer to that. So there's the real issue. Is it really that the men are screwed off, or is it really that, what are you giving them that motivates them? You see, when you have an entitlement mentality that the men are here to just take care of you, when you have that kind of mentality, that's a different issue. Bonita, it just depends, ma'am. It depends on what you look like from a scale of 1 to 10 and what you act like on a scale of 1 to 10. It depends. Because the things that you just named, if you're not a man measuring that, that's a different matter. You see, females pat themselves in the back, but it's like, wait a minute, and you better ask a man what he thinks. I'm talking about a man who's actually about something. You got to ask him what he thinks, because he's the one on the hook. You have an opinion. He would have a burden. You might have, most females have very high opinions of themselves, but what they don't ever do is sit up here, okay, we need to have a sexual FICO score. We got FICO scores for everything except stuff that matters here, because if females actually had a FICO score, a female FICO that men could look up, that'd be a different matter. It's like, hey, how many 7-figure dudes have you fumbled? You know, ladies, if you had a sexual FICO that we could look at, hey, how many 6- and 7-figure dudes have you fumbled in your life? Boy, that sure would answer a lot of questions, wouldn't it? It sure would. Let me explain something to the ladies in here right quick. Ladies, here's the way that it works. If you are more fun than an Xbox, a man is going to spend more time with you than he does with an Xbox.
And deal with it, nigga.
Professor Galloway, listen carefully. If a female is more enjoyable than porn, then the men are going to be with the female, the physical females, not their cell phone screens. If the female is more pleasant and more enjoyable than an Xbox, the man is going to be with a female, not an Xbox. If the female is more enjoyable than his Dodge Charger, then the man is going to be with the female, not his Dodge Charger. If the female is a nicer, more pleasant place to be, that's where the man is going to be. If the men are avoiding the females, they're not just becoming hermits, they're going somewhere else. Well, that's because the somewhere else is more pleasant to be. Not as difficult, not as uncomfortable. A brutal reality, to be sure, but a necessary one. If the female is the most pleasant place to be, that's where the man is going to be. If that's not where he is, it's because you're not the most pleasant place to be, and his Xbox is more comfortable and nice to be with, which is a pathetic commentary on your value as a female. But can we just keep it a $103? The average female can't win against an Xbox and isn't really trying. Ladies, just understand, men are hip to the game. Men are hip to the game. In the modern era, everybody has compared notes. Everybody knows everything. You're not going to be able to sneak up on them. The only thing you'll be able to do is find a fella who's super desperate, and he's just so desperate, he's just willing to accept the abuse for however long he thinks he can. But you're not going to be able to sneak up on men. Everybody knows the game. Everybody sees it coming. Everybody. It's not being slick. So you can't talk your way into those things. Hell, in case you didn't notice, you don't have an anti-Kevin Samuels yet. Hell, you don't even have another Oprah.
What?
Did you ever get your replacement for Oprah? No. Did you ever find this female who galvanized all the other depleted ovarians out there and replicated the formula? No. Even Oprah Winfrey is now crying and whining. It's not happening that way. Men know that you're looking for resources. Men get that. It's not a secret. You can't even tell them that you don't. It's okay, we okay. No. See, the issue is that right now, when you're talking about $450,000 houses, a fella got to stop in his tracks and say, wait a minute now. So the difference now is that males are asking themselves questions more quickly today. Hey, is this worth a $50,000 car? Is this worth a $450,000 house? Is this worth, a vacation? Let me explain to you something. A lot of people are not able to make it to the damn vacation. You got females who are trying to sit up here and put 1%er requirements on a coffee date. Think about this for a few moments, ladies. What message do you think you're sending men when you're telling them about your 1%er requirements for a coffee date? You think that makes him say, damn, that's the one I want? You think that's what it is? The stuff sounds silly. And right now, all this happening is a bunch of chicks are sitting up here getting a lot older about that. So please understand that it's not getting easier. But this is the next thing I want men to be aware of here, fellas. Beware for a female who's given up on herself. When you meet a chick who's got a bunch of attitudes, she's given up. If she doesn't care about offending you, it of course depends on what her options are, but we already see what most of them have as options. But they've given up there, so beware about that. There are a lot of fellas out there who think they're supposed to wrestle with it. Fellas, do not wrestle. You meet some bear cat who sits up here and she's bearing her fangs and her claws on you, and you're going round and round about wearing them down. Man, if you don't stop that nonsense. A lot of you fellas think that you wore her down, and that's not what you did. What you did was you kept persisting until she saw how desperate you were, and now in the back pocket you go. Do you understand that most married men today are in the back pocket?
What?
Most of you married fellas today, y'all are in the damn back pocket and don't know it. Or you do know it and you're terrified to admit that that's where you are. Most of these fellas today are in the damn back pocket. Now, the only issue is now she got you over the 8 ball. So even though you're there, for those of you who may be a little bit younger, be in the back pocket. Some folks refer to it modernly as an orbiter. The old term for it, though, is being in the back pocket. But that just means that you are not her best option. When a woman thinks she's got a better option, she sticks you in the back pocket while she pursues her better option. And even if she can't actively pursue her better option, what it means is that she's not giving you her best. She is deliberately not giving you her best. That's the difference. As a man, you have no choice but to give yours. The bank requires that. The mortgage company requires that. A female can be sitting there with you for 30 damn years, never gave you her best. And what really kills you is knowing that there was some other dude that she did give that to. So you're strapped to a mortgage, but she gave more of herself to another dude while you're paying the mortgage. Taking care of her 5 damn kids, sitting up here paying for extra stuff that them dudes never did. Yeah, that's what makes fellas sit up here and go off the deep end when they wake up one day and realize, damn, that's you, dude. Let's go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. I got Tyler over here on Zoom. All right, Tyler, what's on your mind?
Brother Jason, good evening. Good to be back in the space. Man. So much been going on relevant to what you've been saying. But first thing, Jason, you got these women out here pissed off, all right, because you're bringing an equation that they can't really do anything about. You brought into the lexicon the cash reparations specifically for the descendants of American slaves, and that proved to be an incredible benchmark. You can't get around it, and whatever someone says to that allows you to know everything else you need to know about the situation. You did the same thing on this side when you said she gave the guy before you a younger version with, better facilities, we should say, less used facilities, right? Less gravity applied to different parts of the body. And she's wanting you, for some reason, they have this variable in their equation that says, I can give you less, but you pay more. And when you really look at that, the math doesn't work. And it pisses women off when you focus on that specific variable. When you say, hey, what are you specifically talking about when you say you can give me less than you gave the man before and you get more out of the equation? And so men are on large part, especially these young folks. I love when you brought the numbers earlier. The young guys, we're letting them know, right? Because there was a generation before me. We saw some stuff. Then there's my generation. I'm in my late 30s. Then there's this younger generation. And we are putting them up on game. I told my cousin one time, he's in his mid-late 20s right now. And my girl cousins are in their early 30s. And we're over here chilling in Las Vegas a couple years ago. And I told him, hey, you are the prize. And they started laughing, trying to put me down, trying to put him down. The woman is the prize. The woman is the prize. Jason, the man is the prize. And when you tell these young men that's the reality, it fundamentally changes how they move in the marketplace.
Well, a man can be. Look, I'm not a big proponent of a lot of sloganeering in that regard, because here's my thing, brother. It's like being the king. If you have to say you're the king, you're no king. Shout out Tywin Lannister. If you have to say you're the prize, well, that's your first clue that you are not actually the prize. You see, a king doesn't have to say he's the king. When he walks in the room, everybody knows it. A chick does not have to tell you she's a bad broad. When she walks in the room, it's self-evident. It's not something she has to convince you of. Well, if you really are the prize, that's not something you have to argue, debate, convince, finesse, negotiate. You don't have to do that. So if you are having to do that, that is your first clue that no, that's not the case. It really isn't. This has nothing to do with whether or not you are a fine, upstanding citizen. This has nothing to do with whether or not you're a law-abiding citizen. What a woman expects as far as what she's attracted to and depending on, that's not the same as what the law expects for you to be a compliant citizen. Just like the things that make you valuable to an employer are not necessarily the things that make you valuable as a mate. So when you realize that, it's totally different. So I'm really not a fan of people declaring themselves the prize, because most of those folk know they're not. They're really not. Let me take a moment here to dovetail off of that for what you're saying here. In the chat room, there's a fellow named Michael. He was just talking about, fellas, you need to be mysterious. But I'm like, okay, but most men cannot do that because you're making a number of assumptions. Just being mysterious, damn, the fella panhandling for money on your street corner is mysterious. You don't know a damn thing about him. Okay, but would she want to date him? Yeah, the fella begging for money on your street corner is mysterious too. Does your female want to date him? So what it means is that if a man, for being, quote, being mysterious to be an asset for a man, what's your personality? What are your accomplishments? You see what I mean? That's what in mysteriousness enhances that. When it is obvious that you've got something, when it's obvious you've been some places and seen some things, but you're not big on details. Well, now they want to know more. When it's obvious that you've accomplished some things and made some things happen, but you're not saying very much. Well, that drives them to want to know more. You see what I mean? Now being mysterious is an enhancement. But being mysterious in and of itself is not an enhancement. You're not the prize if you don't have a personality. You're not the prize if you're not interesting. You're not, quite frankly, a lot of men have downplayed this and they've done themselves grievous harm. You're not the prize if you're not the life of the party. You, as a man, women do not consider you to be a prize if you cannot walk into any room and dominate it. You should be able to walk into any room and, at the very least, socially dominate it. You should at least be in the top 5% of the most interesting males in that room. If you're not, what kind of prize is this? I mean, what kind of prize is this? A lot of fellas are upset because they say the problem is today most women don't want an average man, but she's an average woman. Well, you're absolutely right. However, a female does not want a man who is as good as her. She wants a man who is better than she is. The problem that we have is that females want a man who's better than her, and yet she's not really worth a man who's better than her. There's the problem. However, ideally speaking, that's what you would be expecting. So as a man, a woman's never going to want a man who's on her level. She wants a man that she can look up to, ostensibly so she can follow him. Well, yeah, if you qualify for that, well, now you're the prize. But once again, you're not a prize if there's no competition for you. And I don't see how there's competition for you if you're not leading. I don't see how that is. So I would take issue with that, brother. You can't just declare yourself the prize any more than Lizzo can declare herself sexy.
No, I get that, Jason. And what I should have said, I should have caveated that with when you're following the art that Jason Black has put forward, when you are building, when you've got not just the builder paradigm, but you've got building in action and you've got proof of the building. Building in itself requires you to take steps that make you into a prize, but you have to take those steps first. You are correct 100%. You can't just declare it. It's not a declarative type of thing. It's something that is earned and it becomes evident. It emerges and it just becomes what is. So 100% with that, Jason. There's a situation right now getting repairs done on the unit that I'm on. And this is the age of Mr. Call Me First, Jason. I didn't understand what you were talking about until this situation. The plumbers are in the house, busting up the walls, cutting up the pipes, right? You were laughing a couple of episodes ago, broadcasts ago, when you were talking about women coming into the trades. And I didn't understand because I'm like, I've seen, like my mother personally, Jason, used to be a firefighter. So that kind of skews my view of what women are willing to do and how far they're willing to go.
Okay, well, she might have been a firefighter, but she most likely was a paramedic, an EMT, or at best she drove the fire truck. I cannot imagine her carrying those fire hoses. I don't care who she is.
Jason, I'm not trying to be contradictory, but I was at the firefighter training and she had to pull that dummy. I believe the dummies are 225, and you have to go to the second or third floor. You have to go on the ladder, carry them out. So that's why, like Jason, I played football, so we kind of just built very uniquely, so the women can accomplish these tasks that are very unusual.
Let me try this a different way.
Yes, sir.
Your mother could. I'm sure she's a very nice lady, and I'm not going to dispute your account of that particular event. What I will say is I can see her possibly, she's in the top 5% of females physically. If she were able to do something like that, okay. Even still, that's a 25-year-old female. That's not a 35, 38-year-old female. Certainly is not a 45-year-old one. Now, men can keep doing that till their 50s. Mm-hmm. A female is going to be able to do that in her 20s, and by the time she gets to her late 20s, that's a wrap. She's not hauling 200 pounds, anything over her shoulders. So maybe she was able to do that at one point, sure. But as far as her being the go-to person for that, I seriously doubt that there were any 4-alarm fires and there was a woman on the 5th floor saying, help me. And the male firefighters told your mom, all right, get on this ladder and go up there and go get her. I seriously doubt that ever occurred. So you might have saw something in training, but I seriously doubt that she was doing that. I don't think there were any cars on fire and she was the one working the jaws of life. I for some reason, call me cynical, I'm skeptical about that. But even if she were, she's not. That's not going to be a career move in that regard. It's still going to be the men doing that.
No, but Jason, even with the physical abilities she had, there's the psyche that comes with that. I'm going to respect my mother's privacy. I love my mother, but there are definite psychological consequences to attempting to compete with men at that level. With the amount of hours she has to put in, for instance, to get that physical strength is more than men. For us, it just comes much more naturally, right? We might have to, so she would have to work out essentially twice as long as the men do, put in a lot more time, a lot more hours, and then there's other consequences.
The consequences are she's going to look the part.
To a degree, that's definitely
a female can't hang and bang with men and not eventually start resembling us. I mean, that's just going to be the bottom line of it. If she hangs, she can't do what we do and not become one of us. You're going to have to.
You're absolutely correct. And they're doing some plumbing work, right? And I'm naturally drawn to it because I heard what you said. You be doing your radiator, all this different stuff. I was like, okay, the plumber's in the house. Let me go ahead and take a look at this, right? And as I'm looking at them, right, there was a split in the pipe, and the gentleman asked me, just as a kind of stopgap measure, go ahead and get some duct tape and wrap it around this so that it can at least make the water fall a little bit lower in the wall until I could come and fix up the rest. Jason, just to put the tape in there, it was in such a tight space, you can't wrap it around. Immediately, I'm starting to get scratches on my hand. I'm not tripping, right? It's not no bleeding, it's fine. But if I'm a female and I'd spent whatever on my nails, that job is going to cost you whatever you spend on your nails. And that's not even a serious part of the job, right? The plumber, when he came back, had busted up knuckles, all these different, things going on. And it's going to make you weaker as a woman the more you try to compete with a man, right? And so the age of Mr. Call Me First is here, Jason. It probably has already always been here. But the age of Mr. Call Me First, if that's not you, you don't really get the same pull over your female. And that's what I think a lot of men are struggling with. They're not turning themselves into Mr. Call Me First. If you're not Mr. Call Me First, you're Mr. You're not going to satisfy her thirst. That's just what it is. And those men right now are living like kings. You can come in, bust up a wall, get that toilet working. Women can't go without a toilet working for more than a day, Jason. They can't go without a shower. You can't use it because there's a clog. They can't go with the clogged up tub for more than a day, 2 days. They're not trying to go to the local gym. Guys will go to the gym for 2-3 months if that's what it takes and take showers there. We'll be fine. Women don't do that, Jason. So the more they try to compete with us, the less they become. And then, like you said, even if they end up being that, a woman who is in her full feminine versus the burly lady who can carry the pipe over her shoulder, lug that damn thing, put it in place. I'm not interested in that. I can do that. I don't want that. And I'm not going to sacrifice for that. And you can't push yourself to try to say, I should want this masculine ass, built ass woman when this soft chick, she can't really pick up much more than the groceries. But I'm cool with that because she's soft, she's fluffy. That's what I'm looking for. So they're trying to keep up with us. And it's whether, even if they can avoid the physical turning into us, psychologically, you will turn into something that repels me. I'm the positive charge. If I'm attracted to negative charges. If you start turning into a slightly positive charge, whether I'm even aware of it or not, you are going to start repelling me. And then you're like, well, why don't you do this? Why aren't you drawn to that? Why are you looking at her? I don't even know sometimes. It's just natural. I like that soft. I'm not looking for a woman who can do what I do. I'm looking for a compliment. And a lot of women are not getting that, Jason. They're out here trying to outcompete us, trying to buy the homes. Okay, how much of yourself, how much of your femininity did you have to give up? Do you understand how unnatural it is, lady, to be talking about you don't want to have kids? That's not a turn on.
Well, I mean, it's also a trick bag, though, because if a female buys her own home, just understand the chances of you marrying her are going to be very slim. The reason for this being, what are you going to do? You two going to get married and you going to move into her house? You know that's not going to work right there at all. That's not going to work, period. So if a female's already got a house, is she going to sell hers? What is she going to do? We're going to rent hers out. What are we doing here? So in reality, it's an unnecessary complication that's going to lead to a bunch of problems. So she's not making things easier. She's actually complicating things exponentially. And ultimately, it'll fall on you, and there won't really be a right answer. There really won't be. If you let her keep the house, it's got to be paid off. Okay, there's an expense. Is she going to move in with you? Okay, this is redundant. Is she going to rent out hers? Well, all you need is, now she's going to tell you she's strong and independent. Are you going to make her sell the house? Now she's going to resent you. So what's the right answer here? I submit to you there's really not one. So there's a lot of complications that get brought into this, and it doesn't end well. Because it just can't. So they're doing things that are stopgap measures for their mama. They're coming from their mom's house or whatever, and they're buying a house because they weren't happy at their mother's house. So now they're trying to make up for their childhood, which is what it's really about. As a man, you're not trying to do that. You know, you're concerned about something else. You have a life goal. As men, we're supposed to have life goals that are bigger than a house. We're supposed to have goals and ambitions that are bigger than a house, bigger than a car. For females, they don't really have that. That's not really what they have. That's not really the way they operate. And they might get to the children part of it, but they're not really trying to be the best in the city at what they do. You know, they're not trying to operate at a world-class level like that. As men, we're ultra competitive. That's what we do. That's what we're supposed to do. Women, it doesn't work the same way. So when they enter the world, even infringing on the edges of, quote, competing, brother, you're either all in or you're all out. There is no halfway in. If you come out here trying to compete at what we do, you're all the way in. Like John Wick, you stick that pinky toe in the pond, you're all the way in. And then next thing you know, you're spending 13 and 14-hour days and complaining, and hell, you totally lost yourself in there. So if they try to compete, brother, it goes bad. It goes bad. If a female is the prize, she doesn't have to tell you. If a fella is the prize, it should be self-evident. Having a skill set is very, very important. Most of the males today have been raised by single mothers. So there's a lot of context and factors that are missing. Okay, but then I just got to tell them, hey, dude, welcome to boot camp. We don't give a damn why you don't know. I've told you about that before. As men, that's how they give it up for us. If you go to the army, if you go to prison, man, when you get off the damn bus, they don't give a damn what you don't know. You about to get a crash course is what you about to get. And you got 24 hours to get straight. Anything you don't know, it's just going to be consequences. That's all it's going to be. Okay, but guess what? They get your ass straight too. By the way, you ain't never seen a fellow who went to prison and came out the same way. I don't care how soft he was when he went in. He going to be straight when he come out. If he does a 5-year, 10-year bid, you will not recognize him when he comes out. Same thing in the military by and large. So for the fellows who they might have been nerfed or whatever, yeah, they're going to have to get it. You are going to have to get it. Well, Jason, where do I learn? Dude, are you kidding me? You got Google, you got YouTube. The only thing stopping you is yourself. Well, Jason, I don't know about this stuff. Take your ass down to Home Depot or Lowe's, get you a 200-piece tool set. Every male should have one. Every male needs to at least have a tool set, period.
100%.
You need to have a tool set. At the very least, you should be able to change the tire and the oil on your car this is the very least. At the very least. And the other thing is, brother, I mean, you know, you're going to pick it up easy. The reason you don't know is because you're not doing it. You're going to pick it. The stuff that you don't know, you'll pick it up very easy once you start learning. My God, we've had plumbing now literally for thousands of years, going back to the Egyptians. And probably before that, to be totally honest. How is it as thousands of years later and it's rocket science to you? It's not rocket science. It's just you've been nerfed as a mama's boy. Nobody told you, hey, this is your responsibility. Now you're a grown man trying to figure out how to avoid that and not realizing that a man who avoids responsibility destroys his value. We don't get to judge responsibility and keep our value. You can take on responsibility and keep it. You can avoid it and lose it, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. So what a man doesn't know, no, we can't let you off the hook, dude. There's too much stuff. There's literally an instructional video for every damn thing you want, with the possible sole exception of constructing a nuclear reactor. I think that's the only thing I haven't been able to find is step-by-step instructions for constructing a nuclear reactor. Other than that, damn near everything else is on there. Everything. So if you don't know, it's a choice. Okay, just remember, your deficiencies as a man will be held against you. As a man, your masculine deficiencies get held against you. A female can rectify 50% of her feminine deficiencies simply by keeping her mouth closed and not being disagreeable. That doesn't work for you as a man. You don't get to just sit there and be quiet and like, ooh, he's a manly man. That's not the way it works. We get judged on what we can do. When people see you are not useful, please remember, Tyler, it's not the women who judge you and reject you when you're not useful. It's the other men.
What?
Yep.
As men, brother, we ain't got no use for this little sissified mama's boy over here with his silky smooth legs and his manicured nails, and he doesn't know a crescent wrench from a croissant sandwich. We don't have any use for this little nigga over here. As a matter of fact, not only do we not have use for you, you freaking annoy us. Just your presence is annoying to us because we know we're going to have to carry our weight and yours. So we're hoping nothing comes up because it's like he can't do anything. The only thing we can do is carry him. Like I don't have enough to do already. So it would have been a whole lot better if you just never showed up today. That would have made life for all of us better if you just don't show up. As men, we can't drag this bastard baby, your slutty ass mama didn't do nothing, your daddy's AWOL, and we're dragging you. That's not cute to us as grown men. If you were 6 or 7 years old, we see it differently. You 26, 27? No, this isn't just pitiful. This is annoying. It's annoying, and we don't want that. So the females actually have more tolerance for him than we do. Women will sit with a little mama's boy if he's entertaining enough. You never met a mama's boy who was so entertaining you want to keep around him. You never saw that fella. You just like, yeah, dude, you're not useful. You're not useful, and I ain't looking to carry another nigga. So, let me go ahead and find a new place to be. So, as just understand, that's where the real pressure comes from. You can't declare yourself the prize. The other men acknowledge you, and that is the self-evident factor that certifies and validates you in that way. You're talking about the guys who are plumbing. You didn't have to speak on their value. Their value was self-evident. The value spoke for his damn self. It's like the very fact y'all called him here, that says everything. That's an acknowledgement that he knows something y'all have no clue about. And if he doesn't do it, it ain't gonna get done. That's self-evident. He doesn't have to tell you he's the prize. It's right there in front of you. So when you can do that, that's what I'm saying. When men have it like that, that does all the talking. And I want us to recognize that our value is in the stuff we don't have to say.
Yeah, I know a lot of different things, Jason. Intellectually, academically, pretty sound. Felt some type of way when those men came in. So I was doing something. I stopped what I was doing. Some spider senses went tingling, and I went to where they were and where they were doing the work. I asked questions. I said, "What is this? How is that working? Okay, so what is that? Okay," and then I would use an analogy to try to explain it in a way that I understood. And I was immediately driven to demonstrate competence. There were two different plumbers that were here. One was here for a different part of the job. The others came for a different part. There was a plumber who just demonstrated way more competence. Immediately, we all fell back and said, yeah, this dude's in charge right now. We're doing what he says. I learned about different tools. They used the hammer to find where the leak was at. Once they found the pipe, they then used the multi-tool to cut open the wall. It's not that hard, but you need to get in there. Jason, I think a lot of fellows would benefit from just going up to these tradesmen and saying, hey, let me work with you free for a week. You don't got to pay me nothing. Tell me when and where to be, and I'll come and help. You're going to do some gopher stuff, but these men, they almost naturally want to teach you if you're demonstrating competence. If you're saying stupid stuff, if you're being silly, they don't got time. They got to do this job as quick as they can, as competently as they can, and get out. If you're a young man out here today, go find a man that knows what they're doing and go volunteer your time. It will pay off in spades, even if you never go into that career. I know what a multi-tool is. I know how to find a pipe. I know what the sound of a leak is. I know that, okay, now I need another tool in order to cut the pipe open. Go ahead and get this PVC up in, or I think it was the ABS. Go ahead and put that there, get the joints on there, and now you've got a working situation. That plumbing is not a joke. Fellas, you got to know some of the basics. You got to know what the toilet's doing. You got to know what's happening under the house. You got to know that the house connects to the main. Okay, what are you going to need for that? How do you find that, right? You got to turn off the power when you go underneath the house so there's no risk of electrocution. There's basic things, and I learned these in just a couple of days just by ear hustling and making sure to be around those men who demonstrated very clearly, I've got competence in this. Now, I'm not here to teach them the different things I know academically. These men are making it so that my sink works, doesn't get clogged up, my toilet works, doesn't get clogged up, the tub doesn't get clogged up, because when the tub is clogged up, you can't use it anymore. How many showers, how many baths can you take with the same water? And then what? You're going to use a bucket to get the water out and put it where? The plumbing's not working. So you got to have the fundamentals, folks. Gentlemen, you got to have the fundamentals. Mr. Call Me First. This is that time. Jason, I appreciate you. B1$.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Let me tell y'all something here. We're not in an era for the soft life dude, man. This is not going to be the era for the soft life dude. The fellas who are trying to figure out how they can sit up here and take it easy, or, oh, we're going to be in front of a cubicle and stuff, man. I'm just letting you know. The fellas who don't know how to be physically useful, that's going to be a hell of a thing for you, man. That's going to be a hell of a thing. Is a whole bunch of fellas out here right now trying to figure out how to be respected without being resourceful. At the end of the day, as a man, you are going to be judged on your ability to pick up the physical things around you and make results happen. That's just it. You are going to be judged on your ability to do that. Your ability to pick up things, to make things happen, to reshape things, to reform things, to find something broken and be able to repair it. Nobody cares if your dad was not there to teach you that, man. Nobody cares if your dad wasn't there to teach you that. I'm just going to give you some basics here. For example, in the chat room, a man appliance repairman. My man appliance repairman, I got to chop it up with him, as a matter of fact. I got to chop it up with him. Fellas, that's a basic thing right there. If you bought an electrical appliance, you should be able to do something with it. If you got a chainsaw, if you have a power tool, if you have a refrigerator, if you have a washing machine, if you have a stove, and even as far as diagnosing things, you got the internet for that now. You know the make and model of it or what you got. Man, I'm telling you, you should start there. You want to learn how to be useful? Start there. You got grown men today. If something goes wrong with the refrigerator, he starts trying to figure out if he can save up money to buy a new one. What the hell? As a man, if you got, as soon as something breaks, that should be the moment for you to jump on that. If something breaks or whatever. I know appliance repair, man. I've been waiting. I'm waiting for a minute. I got something specific I want to do. As men, that's your opportunity right there, man. You got appliances and stuff. Before you sit up here and do something goofy, by the way, did you investigate that at all? At all? Do you know how to rewire from an appliance from a 120 to a 220? Do you know how to do that? Do you know how to be able to take off the parts on your car? Do you know how to do that? These are just basic resourceful things. And I know they're not teaching this stuff. That's not the damn point. Where there's a whole bunch of things that society is not taught. And let's just keep it real. If you got the idea in your head that your mama's going to come swinging them from the chandeliers like Tarzan or something and save you from it, you're giving up your opportunities to be useful. If you got a vacuum cleaner, every man should know how to disassemble a vacuum cleaner, clean it, and reassemble it. Every single male in here should know how to disassemble a vacuum cleaner and reassemble it. It's nothing but a bunch of Phillips. You don't even need fancy tools. If you got a Phillips screwdriver and a pair of pliers, you can disassemble an entire vacuum cleaner and clean it up and put it back together again. Every male in here should be able to do that. Every male in here should be able to change the blades on a riding mower. Every male in here should be able to change the blades and the belts on a riding mower. Every single male in here. Zero exceptions. Every male in here should be able to change the belts and the blades, not just on a lawnmower, but a riding mower. Million videos on YouTube, but by the way, every male in here should be able to do that. And I'm not just talking about when the weather is nice. Every male in here should be able to do that, even if it's 100 degrees outside. Everyone should be able to do that. Let me tell you, the first time that your woman and your children see you call another man to do that and he gets that knocked out in 10 minutes and you're sitting around like the females are, just understand you've lost credibility and clout and status and face. You've lost that. Every male should be able to do that. Every male in here should be able to change the serpentine belts on his car. Every male in here should be able to do that. That's not really something somebody should have to whip and beat on you for. It really shouldn't. No, as a man, those are the things that make us valuable. Those things right there. And this idea that you're going to be coddled, you're going to get to live a soft life, other people are going to make it easy on you, you don't want to chip a nail. Those are the kind of things that diminish your value when people see that you shrink from that. So there's every male in here has had an appliance or something that has broken down on them. That's the place for you to start. I'm talking to the young fellas, whether you're raised by a single mom or not, you don't know where to begin. Start there. Start there. Especially if you have a computer, if you have your own computer, you should know how to change the power supply and the hard drive in your computer.
What?
If you have a desktop computer, you should know how to change, at least how to change the hard drive. You should at least know how to change the hard drive on it. And definitely be able to change the power supply. These are basic things. They really are, unless you just don't look. And what I'm saying is that's a male looking for somebody else to take care of him. Just understand, you can't keep your status when you do that. You can't do it. I'm not even getting into more advanced things. I'm not even getting into carpentry and, welding and stuff. I'm not even getting into that, man. I'm talking about basic machine maintenance. I'm just talking about that. Just that. You live in a world that runs on combustion engines. You should be able to change oil. You should be able to do that on, if you have a generator, if you have a lawnmower, if you have a car, you should be able to change the oil in all those things. You should be able to change the oil in all of them. You see, when you're a man and you can do that, that's when you can look at a chick and say, okay, I'm on my damn job as the man. Do you deserve a man who can do all this? Or do you belong out there with the single broads sitting up here spending 30% of your income to go rent a man to go take care of this stuff for you? See, fellas, that's what gives you value. At that point right there, you got to ask, does this chick deserve me? When you present value like that, that's when you get to start asking, I don't know if she deserves this. Yeah, she can go yakety yak at the lip all she wants to, damn it. But that damn serpentine belt in her car go out and she's just going to sit here. Let me tell y'all, there's not a female fellas, if I'm lying, you call me out on it. There's not a female in here that can fight with one of them damn serpentine belts.
And deal with it, nigga.
There's not a female in here who can fight with the tensioner on the front of a motor. Get any female in here. You got to squeeze your damn forearm between the fan shroud and the front of the motor to get a socket wrench in there on that tensioner on the front of a belt and then push. There is not a single female in here, regardless of age, who can get a tensioner off enough to get the serpentine belt off the front of her motor. If a man wanted to mess you up, he would hand you he would hand you a socket wrench and tell you, here, go take the go ahead and pull down on the tensioner and get the serpentine belt off. Go ahead and do that. She's sitting up here looking at the 1/4 wrench, 3/4, and she's like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? And put it on the front of the tensioner. And then you're going to have to push down on it, because that's what tightens up the serpentine belt. So, yeah, there's not a single female in here who is going to fight with a tensioner. You go put that, once she sees how hard, she's going to be like, this thing's impossible to move. It's like, okay, remember your place.
Auntie, chill.
Fellas, if you want to remind her of her place in the bigger picture, if you want to immediately notify her of her position in the hierarchy, tell her, look here, you can tell me how to be a man right after you get this serpentine belt off. You can tell me how to be a man right after you get this serpentine belt off the front of this damn 6.2. Soon as you get this serpentine belt off of here, you can tell me about being a man. Right after you do this, I'll stand right here and wait for you. See, fellas, when that happens right there, it's like, okay, you say, hey, baby, if you're going to be the man, all you got to do is, once she starts tugging on that thing 2 or 3 times, it's like, oh, when she starts getting that damn elbow tendonitis, start getting to her, and it's, oh, okay. All right. I was just checking. Oh, she can't, you forget about putting it back on, right? It's not coming off. It's not coming off. If you don't take it off, that belt's not coming off. And I'm being nice because in reality, there's a lot of things that women assume that's not real. For example, to the fellas in here, bear me witness. Give me the wrench emoji if you've ever had to fight with the oil plug on your oil pan after you took it to one of these quick lube places because they tightened the damn thing up so tight on your oil pan. To the fellas in here, if you've had to fight with the oil plug on an oil pan because the quick lube place, you decided to change your oil after they did it, and you're like, I'll be damned, went to them 6-7 months ago and fighting with this damn thing to get the plug off because they put the damn plug on so tight because they're using an impact wrench or whatever. You tell me a female can crawl up under that car and get that off. I don't give a damn what she lifts at the gym. She's not getting that plug out of there. She's not doing this. She gonna get up under there and be like, this damn thing must be welded on here. No, we ain't even gonna get in the wheel lugs. Don't worry about that. We're not even gonna hit them with wheel lugs. We just gonna stick with little things. Cause you figure it should be real easy to get the oil plug out. And it is, except for the fellas, you know that by physics, the oil plug and the oil filter actually get tighter over time. So as men, we know we're not really supposed to, you're supposed to put like the oil filter on there hand tight. You don't really have to put a lot of pressure on it because from the rubber and stuff and physics, it's going to start tightening itself over time. So it's going to be hell to take off when it's time to change it. And the oil plug does much the same thing. So you really don't have to really crank down on those to get them on, to get them to be tight. You don't have to crank down on it. Them dumb folk at the oil change places do, but they're worried about liability and then they overdo it. But it doesn't take much to get those on there tight enough and drop the car down and get to rolling. You're good. First time she gets up under there, that's going to be the last time. The first time you get her up under that car to get that oil plug out, that's going to be the last time. She's going to think you're just evil. And what I'm saying is, okay, fellas, you don't have to argue anymore. That speaks for you. That right there speaks for you. So practice being in a situation and having it where it's clear that your value speaks for you. You ain't got to talk about nothing. At that point right there, she can tell you how to be a man right after she get this plug out, right after she get this tensioner off of here, right after she does that. Too many fellas put themselves in positions where they got to be arguing and going around and back and forth. The reason for you to have superior knowledge is so that there is no questioning what your position as the man is. A woman does not see what you do for a living, fellas. That's why talking about your income doesn't really carry that much weight, even if you make more than she does, and most men do. That your job is invisible to her. She's not at your job. She doesn't see it. She just gets the financial benefits of it, but she doesn't see how hard or difficult or what it costs you or what's required of you in competence. She doesn't see that at your job because she's not at your job with you. When something breaks around the house, all of a sudden she can see your value. Now, she saw that, or she didn't see it. She saw that or she didn't see it. And I'm not saying you have to be able to do every damn thing. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is you can't be the fella who can't do anything. You can't be that guy. And too many fellas out here can't do anything at all, especially younger fellas, that you can't be the guy who just can't do anything. A female respects you if she sees you can at least work on your car, you doing some work. She catalogs that. She makes a memory of that. But more importantly, other men do. Other men recognize that and identify that too. Now they start saying, okay, there's your value. And in the modern era, there's no excuse for a man not to have that. If you got a car, if you got appliances, there's literally a YouTube video for anything you can name. Any car, make and model, any appliance, there's a YouTube video telling you how to fix that. I'm talking about computers, cell phones. I've got professional camera equipment with professional lenses. There's YouTube videos about how to disassemble the lenses.
Nigga, what?
Really? There are YouTube videos that will show you how to disassemble the lenses. Could have saved thousands of dollars over the years with that. It's in depth. It's a little bit wonky, but my point is there's literally nothing you're thinking about that you can't find. I mean, we're not talking about brain surgery or something. We're talking about just appliances. It's literally anything and everything. So if you don't know, it's not because there wasn't a repository of information to show you. That's not the reason. And just understand, a man who doesn't know and he's not curious, he's not inquisitive, he doesn't want to find out. A female would be like, damn, I don't know how to cook something, but I'm willing to go look and see if I can find a recipe. You're a man, you don't know how to fix something, but you're unwilling to go find instructions to fix it. Do you see how that registers? As a female, she's taking into account, I'm willing to go look up a recipe. You're not willing to go look up repair instructions. She doesn't know something. If she's willing to go look up the knowledge to go figure out how to do it and you're not, just understand she saw that. She saw that. And those are the things that go into your personality, and those are the things that make you interesting, and those are the things that stick out. Because let's be honest, most females have complaints about what their man's not doing or hasn't gotten done or what they're not getting accomplished. Most of them have complaints about that kind of thing. Most of them do. And there's a reason for that. Your job is not to be that, but in the 21st century, I want fellas to understand, hey man, that's where your value comes from. That's where your value comes from, because she might buy that house. I promise you, she ain't fixing anything in it. I'm just telling you right now, even if she buys that house, she's not fixing anything in it. Hell, women don't fix on their cars. I ain't beating up on you ladies. I got to call it for what it is. Women think that the car is for them to go style and profile. She thinks her job is to look cute in front of it. Females do not think about forming. As men, we want to form a simpatico. Look it up. We want to form a symbiotic relationship with our machines. For us, we see our car as an extension of ourselves. A female sees the car as something she drives to work. She becomes symbiotic with her pets. As men, we're symbiotic with a machine because we are mechanical and linear in nature. So a car is basically an extension of our personalities because it's so much like us. It fits our personalities so perfectly. So you see, when our cars have a problem, our job is to be able to feel that. We can feel when something's not quite right with the car. It'll be just the slightest, smallest thing. Now we want to fix it. Because as a man, that's like asking somebody else to burp your kid if you're a female. If there's something wrong with the car, you want to be the one who's first in line to see what that is. Females don't do their own maintenance. Women don't change oil filters. God forbid if it's a cabin air filter or an engine air filter, she's not going to do that. There's not a female in here who has not blown past the 15, 20,000 mile mark for their engine air filters, and you know it.
And deal with it, nigga.
Every single female in here, you haven't opened up your maintenance manual. You haven't looked up the maintenance schedule, your owner's manual. If it's a German car, I know you haven't done it. There's not a female in here who has looked up when her engine air filters are supposed to be done. She's waiting for the car to give her an error message or something. But taking a look at the maintenance schedule and be like, okay, well, at 25,000 miles, I need to do that. There's not a female in here who's watching the maintenance schedule. She's waiting for the car to tell her that it's time to change the oil. But the problem, ladies, is by the time the car tells you it's time to change the oil, you're already well past the oil life, by the way. Just a pro tip for you. If you're waiting for your dashboard to tell you that it's time for the engine oil life monitor to tell you that it's time to change the oil, you're already way past the oil life. It only tells you that when you've exceeded the oil life. No, every male in here, your females are not doing their regular maintenance. They might know what an oil filter is. They haven't changed it. Engine air filters, forget about it. The inside of your engine is gummed up like the bottom of a vacuum cleaner. Women aren't touching that, man. They're not touching that. They're waiting for something else to happen. They're not touching it. So I don't even have to ask about that. Fellas, bulbs blow inside the car. Women ain't changing that. She been driving around in the damn dark for 5 years.
What?
She's been sitting up here driving around in the dark now for 5 years. The inside cabin light, the bulb went out. She's not changing that. You know that. She's not changing it. She's not changing it. She's not. Fellas, cigarette lighter stopped working. She's not going to go look at the fuses. If the cigarette lighter stops working, she can't charge her cell phone. She's just going to be going to work, and the car is going to be, her phone is going to come back on 5% battery life if she doesn't have a charger with her that day. She's not going to go look at the fuses to see if it blew a fuse. She's not going to do that. And she's definitely, for example, not going to go buy a test light.
Nigga, what?
All the females and some of the fellas are in here like, a test light? Females are not going to do that, fellas. A female is not going to go to AutoZone and go buy a test light. She's not going to do that. Even if she knew what one was, she's not going to go do it. That is what gives you value. Bonita said her dad cleans her engine every 3 months when he does his. Okay. That's all cool and all. Well, we've already had that conversation, but it's like, my dad does this. And it's like, okay. All right. Got a fella in the chat room talking about, what's the test like, dude? You got YouTube. Look it up, go see what it is, and don't cut yourself.
What?
You can go look on YouTube and see what a test light is. By the way, a word of warning, don't cut yourself. If you go buy one, don't cut yourself. Be careful. You'll injure yourself if you're not careful. And what I'm saying is that, fellas, that think about this for a few moments here. I shouldn't even say this. I should not say this. Oh, man, where am I at? Cauldron's bubbling. Fellas, all of y'all work with some struggle broads. Do y'all realize, yeah, she might be struggling for a reason, but I'll be damned. Fellas, let her open up that damn car. There's going to be a light on the dashboard. She's going to have an idiot light lit up on the dashboard. I shouldn't be giving y'all the dark arts of game tonight, but I got a few extra minutes, so let me go ahead and just drizzle. Let me drizzle you with the game right quick. We ain't gonna sprinkle today. We're just gonna miss the cauldron's gonna drizzle you for just a moment. Fellas, every female in here, I promise you, unless that car is just new, I promise you, all you got to do is ask her, when's the last time you changed your engine air filter? She's gonna say, what filter? Fellas, that chick at your job while you trying every damn thing else, she's got that car. I don't care what shape it's in. Look, if she cranks it up, look at that dashboard. It's going to have one of the idiot lights on there, something she hasn't checked. The check engine light is going to be something. Fellas, do you realize how much you can sit up here and stop and give out some game if you have a code scanner? Oh, I shouldn't tell you this. Fellas, by the way, if you want to be instantly useful to a female, one of the best investments you can make is a code scanner. They even have Bluetooth versions now. I prefer the mechanics one because it does a lot more, but they've got others you can buy. By the way, fellas, you want to be indispensable, you can go buy a code scanner. I don't give a damn who the chick is at your job. I promise you, at least half of them have a check engine light on. At least half got a check engine light. Open up the car, there's a bulb that's not coming on. There's a door latch that isn't working. There's a hood latch that's on its last damn leg. There's a fuse that's blown, a cigarette lighter that ain't working properly, a window switch. She's got an engine air filter or a cabin air filter that she hasn't changed since she bought the damn car. Fellas, do you understand what it's like when you can go grab those latches on the glove box, push in on those, the glove box drops down, you take out the screws for the cabin air filter, you pull that thing out and all them leaves and dust come out?
Cookie! Nom, 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 oh, nom, nom, nom.
When she sees you pull out that cabin air filter and it's just leaves and dust and it's a big mess, and she's like, girl, when's the last time you changed this thing? And she's looking all crazy and silly and helpless. And she's talking about her no good boyfriend or a no good ex-boyfriend. Fellas, I'm not even talking about major repairs. I'm not even talking about major repairs. I'm talking about basic light maintenance. Do you understand that she's going to stand there looking all helpless and be mystified? You start disassembling that cabin air filter, all she can do is sit there and be mystified. Oh yeah, by the way, here's a cheat code. I shouldn't be telling you YNs this. I should not be telling the YNs this. They will only use this for evil. They will not use their newfound powers for good. They will only use their newfound powers for evil. So I should not be telling the YNs this. I really shouldn't. The YNs will only abuse it. I can already hear their gears turning. They will only abuse it. Fellas, if she has a German car, I'm telling you right now, that A service and that B service is whooping her ass. No ifs, ands, or buts. The first time she went to the Mercedes dealership and they hit her with the cost of the A and the B service, oh, that was it. She was just like, yeah, I can't do this. I'm just going to have to roll this car till something happens. I can't keep paying that. Even if she takes it to, an independent shop, it's not going to be light years better. I mean, it would be less than Mercedes charges for certain. It couldn't possibly be more expensive. But if she's under warranty and stuff, she's scared to do that. But I'm just telling you right now, the basic stuff, you got to go fight to get the cabin air filter out for a BMW. God forbid if it's an Audi. Oh, if she's driving an Audi, and by the way, we got to go over Audi and Audi. We'll come back to that. But if she's driving an Audi, oh, forget about it. There's 0% chance that she's going to get the engine air filter and the cabin air filter out. 0%. She can't do it. And even going to an independent shop is going to cost. Okay, you show up, dude, that'll be the best 30 minutes of YouTube viewing you ever had in your life. If you got your eyes on the chick, she's pretending she got everything together. I promise you, with that car is a different matter. That car is unless the dude she with is on top of his game. But if she's a single chick thinking she's strong and independent, y'all know that little broad, she's not checking. She might know about checking the engine oil. She's never looked at her air filters. And you explain to her, well, the air filters filter out the air. If you don't do that, it's sucking dust into the engine chambers. You're going to kill the engine. All of a sudden, she's going to start gushing about how she can't depend on her family. She can't depend on her mom. Her boyfriend's no good. Ex-husband left and stuff. Nigga. Just that quickly. If I got to tell you what to do after that, Dad, you shouldn't be doing it. So to the YNs out there, by the way, cheat code, if she has a German car, I promise you she has never touched the engine air filter or the cabin air filter. I promise she's never touched it. Go to YouTube. It'll be about 15, 20 minutes of watching. That's all you need to. It's a bit of a pain in the ass sometimes to get to it, but when you yank that thing out and you flop the dust off of it, you show her how bad the shape is in, you're flopping the dust off of it, she can't argue. It just looks bad that she hasn't been changing it. Now she's going to be copping please. Now you can just tell that'd be $5. How much the dealership want for that? $200. How much the independent shop want for it? $90. You can give me $5. Free game. No, you don't have to be an ASE certified mechanic. This is just basic maintenance. And what I'm saying is that this is something she doesn't. Yeah, I mean, the filters are cheap. The filters are not what, even on Mercedes and BMW and Audi, the filters are cheap. It's getting them in and out that costs you everything. The labor is what ends up costing you. And here's the crazy part. I can show you some of the labor that literally takes 2 minutes. I can show you labor on these cars that literally takes 2 minutes. 2 minutes to do the engine air filters, and they want to charge you $200 for it. Literally $200 for 2 minutes, and it's just like, this is robbery. Okay, well, the dealership knows something you don't. The mechanic knows something that you don't. Hey, fellas, I advise you to know something that she doesn't.
And deal with it, nigga.
Okay. Oh, the women got real quiet in here.
Auntie, chill.
Hey, ladies, why y'all get all quiet all of a sudden? Hey, fellas, did you notice the women got real quiet? They like, damn. This nigga is telling these fellas how to lock us down. I read the mail. Oh, the females are gotten real quiet. All right, you're telling on yourself, Teresa. It's you're leaving off the for now part. That 1993 Toyota Camry, I know is still doing right by you, but I'm just saying, baby, don't you dry snitching. Don't do that. I'm trying to help you now. But yeah, the females got real quiet, fellas. Did y'all notice that? Yes, these are the clues and the details. You think I'm just over here talking. I'm sitting over here taking in data. Fellas, don't believe me. Look at the chat room. You notice once I start talking about the German cars, no more females talking. They're not saying anything. What does that tell you? There's a lot of chicks in here got German cars and realize they have not been maintaining them. They can't argue with me over it. If they knew how to change their engine air filters, they would be arguing with me. They don't even know where the engine air filter is. They don't even know why it needs to be changed. So the women are sitting back right now, probably going to YouTube, looking up the videos they damn selves. They're sitting up here opening a damn group phone call chat. They're going to go call the most masculine female of the group. Y'all know how it is. Women got a group of females. They run in packs. And whoever is the most useful, she's basically the designated man of the group, you know? They got one female who once upon a time, she picked up a Phillips screwdriver, you know, and changed some of the screws on a smoke detector. She changed the batteries on the smoke detector. So she basically becomes like the man of the group. That's how females are. If there's a female who has picked up a screwdriver, she basically is if they were on a desert island, she would be the de facto man of the group. So all the females would be coming to her asking how you do this and how you do that. That's how that would be. So right now the females are calling each other up and seeing if they can go to YouTube and look at the instructions. See if they can figure out how to do that. Now, for some of them, they might get that engine air filter. Oh, that cabin air filter, forget about it. No, that cabin air filter, forget about it. You can forget that one. She might desire to do it, but that's about as far as it's going to get. She is not getting that thing out. Not at all. Oh, yeah, one more thing, fellas. She better not have a leaf in there.
What?
Oh, yeah, one more thing. She better not have a leaf in it. Y'all know how it is when you change your cabin air filter. If there's leaves on it, if a leaf falls down into the fan, now whenever she turns the fan on inside the car, you hear that buzzing sound the whole time because there's a leaf stuck in it. All kinds of things that her dad didn't tell her. Even if she does figure out how to fight with the cabin air filter, is she ready to make sure she does it properly, or is she guessing her way through it? And then finds out it's not. Then she winds up taking it to a mechanic and he charges her $100 to vacuum a leaf out of it. Oh, don't worry. No, it'll drive you nuts. That leaf is up in there on that squirrel cage fan. I mean, it's just constant. It'll drive you insane. It will drive you in. Your car used to be quiet. That thing gets to going. It will drive you insane sitting up in there. Although a lot of these females, they'll just keep driving the car until it chews the leaf up eventually, and then about 2,000 or 3,000 miles. But in any case, fellas, what I'm saying is that, do you see what having a little knowledge does for you? Do you see what having a little knowledge does for you? There's all kinds of details you're missing. Take a look at the key fob. Is the key fob worn out? Has it stopped working? Do you know how to change the case on it? You do know the key fob just has a little it just has a little computer chip, a little computer circuit board in it. Can you change those out? Fellas, that's something you can do right now tonight. If you have a key fob, your key fob has a battery in it. How many fellas in here have actually opened up their key fobs to change the battery? For General Motors vehicles, it starts doing crazy. Actually, with a lot of vehicles, not just General Motors, it starts doing crazy stuff on the dashboard when the key fobs batteries get low. So, by the way, how many fellas in here even know how to change the batteries in their key fobs? You want to talk about basic maintenance? If you don't know how to do it, I know she doesn't. The females got quiet. If I asked the females how to change the key fob in the battery in their key fob, the females like, what? The key what? The what fob? I went through all of this detail tonight to say, now, do you think that she knows what she's doing when she bought a house? You really do think that she's on top of this buying a house thing? You really think that you're more broke than she is? Is that really what you think? Because some jackass on CNN or CBS who has to spend their whole damn life being a ward of the corporate state and saying all kinds of crazy stuff, hoping they don't lose their little corporate job. By the way, fellas, do you realize how much on top of the game either you are or you could be? Yeah, you bought a house, can you maintain it? You bought a car, can you maintain it? You bought a riding mower, can you maintain it? You bought appliances, can you maintain it? As men, your ability to maintain your life is what controls your costs. So don't let these people gaslight you, man. If you are not able to control your costs, it's because you have not taken full advantage of your manhood. If you actually have, you can control your costs, dude. You buy it. And while she's going to the mechanic and fretting, because every female has a damn crisis story about a car repair. Every female is walking around with some ongoing crisis about a car repair, unless she has a man in her life. Now, if she has a man in her life, it's not like that. If she's a single female by herself, she is constantly broke because them mechanics be putting it on the ass. Fellas, they're trying to tell you who's broke, man. Are you kidding me? If you're on top of your damn game, dude, that's never you. Even if you and her make the same amount of money, you make the same amount of money, but you don't spend the same amount of money. She's spending more just to keep her head above water. As a man, you're supposed to be researching and learning these things and developing yourself so that you're not helpless. A female thinks that her job will protect her lack of knowledge or her ignorance in being helpless. As a man, you're supposed to understand that you can't afford to be helpless. As a man, you're supposed to understand you can't afford to be helpless. Oh man, Queen Uzira, $600 for an alternator. I don't know. It depends on the car, but man, if that car is 7 or 8 years old, yeah, they might have got you. They might have got you. This is what happens when a woman does not have a man she can call on. Oh, Toyota, that's your ass.
Damn!
Y'all know the females of the Toyotas, they go by those RAV4s or something, and oh, that's your ass. That's a wrap. Even nowadays, if you have to get a new battery, the battery's got those circuit boards on top of them. If you have the auto stop start, you have to get the battery with the glass pack in it. Okay. That's your ass. Fellas, what I'm saying is that there are more struggling females out here than you think. Okay, but here's the problem. The problem is if you don't know any more than she knows, by the way, you had an opportunity. You had an opportunity to slide in, by the way. You had an opportunity, but it's like, hey, if you can't do nothing with it, okay. Now, I just spent most of the last 45 minutes or so talking about the car. Fellas, if that's how many opportunities you have in the car, how many do you have in the house? How many do you have in the house? How many females have a vacuum cleaner they can't do nothing with? How many of them are sitting there right there running up their expenses? They're running up expenses. They have absolutely no clue if something goes wrong. They're either going to try to call a male relative. If they have one, most of them don't even have that. Now they end up just calling the place they bought it from. If they bought it from Home Depot, they're trying to see if they can get Home Depot to fix it. Vinny, we ain't seen the Bentley in so long. I am very skeptical about that 2014. So all I can tell you is the first time that reskinned Volkswagen Phaeton has an engine problem or a repair issue, oh, that's a wrap. So, fellas, if this is how deep it is about the car, do you think that they're more on top of it because of the house? You think they're able to afford the house more than the car? You think it's that? Don't let these people fool you. Jason, what are you trying to say? What I'm trying to say, fellas, is that you're the most broke person in the room is the one who's the most ignorant, not the one who doesn't have a dollar. What? As a man, the reason why you're never supposed to be more broke than the female is because you're supposed to have more knowledge. You're supposed to have more knowledge, more capability, more resourcefulness. If you do, you are never the brokest one in the room. If you have the ability to do things she can't and to contain costs, you're always going to be the most affluent person in the room. You can let these magazines or your Facebook timeline or whatever gaslight you, but no, if you're the most capable person, you're never going to be the brokest person in the room. And inversely, if you are the least capable person, you are not just the weakest link, you are also the brokest person in the room. Doesn't sound great to hear, but it is reality. Your job is to avoid that. If you can, or don't. Or don't, that's an option for you as well. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. I may be having a program coming up here about a certain person. Gonna check and see how things go here within the next week. I have a feeling that within the next week, I'll be preparing for a program about a certain person. So needless to say, if that ends up happening, I got something I want to put on their ass. We'll see how that goes. If it comes down to that, I'll be making an announcement for it. In the meantime here, I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Jason C7993. Thank you very much for your support tonight. We appreciate that. To Young Investor, thank you very much for your support tonight. We appreciate that here as well. Shout out to Who a Nation Iffy. Hope I didn't butcher that too much. WayHep31, thank you. Thank you for your support here as well. My man Ianto is giving out memberships. The gift that keeps on giving just in time for the holidays. Stock Constellations, everybody else here. Joe Blow. Oh, man, Joe Blow. Yeah, Joe Blow is going through it. Joe Blow is going through it, but we hear you here. Miss Vernica Baby. Okay, Miss Vernica Baby. All right, she's in here looking for a man. I don't blame you, baby. Just one of these fellas in here, appliance repairman. He might be single. If he is, he might be able to come by and fix that Maytag for you. If you are new here to the business, welcome to the program that all your favorite YouTubers love to hate watch, the definitive school of power dynamics. If you're new here, click that red subscribe button, click that yellow notification bell. Make sure you are subscribed to us so that you do not miss the program. If you are not a member of our Patreon, the link is in the description. We do it every weekend, 12 noon Central Time. You are more than welcome to join us. Got a few details we'll be going over here tomorrow, a few details indeed. So those of you who want to stay on top of that, I recommend that you be there so that you don't miss that. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program, live or recorded. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, and sharing. Do not misuse anything, fellas. Do not misuse any of the sacred knowledge that has been revealed to you tonight. And ladies, by the way, be on the watch out. Just saying. Be ready. The fellas are stepping their game up. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business or your business will handle you.